Have you ever saved all year for that one family vacation and ended up stressed out about every single dollar?
Not anymore. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen.
And I'm Jo. We're two busy moms who have cracked the code on travel with points and miles.
We're here to show you how we turn everyday expenses into extraordinary vacations.
This is Wonderland on Points, where we share tips and tricks to help you earn free and deeply discounted travel.
Let the adventure begin. Welcome back to the Wonderland on Points podcast, everybody, presented by Yahoo Travel. We are glad, as always, that you are here with us. Today is pretty fun because we are going to be talking about an insanely priced all-inclusive that Joanna recently got to enjoy. We're so pumped to bring you this episode. We will note that we are recording this at the end of February 2026. This is a resort that is in Mexico. We definitely understand that Mexico has a lot going on right now, and so people are taking it, very treading lightly with whether or not they feel comfortable going to Mexico at the moment, but we know Mexico is an incredible country to visit. Beautiful beaches, beautiful places, great culture. So at some point, you may be ready to go to Mexico. And so we're going to tell you about this incredible all-inclusive. Joanna!
Yay!
I know you're so excited to share about this.
Oh my gosh, it was such a good trip. I mean, I am so excited for people to copy this because you guys, when I say that literally no one is talking about this place. Nobody. I have never seen a single person in all of the accounts that I follow mention this hotel. And I think it's because we just tend to kind of get pigeonholed when we're talking and we stick to like the main brands. People talked a lot about Wyndham with their partnership with Vacasa, but we never talk a lot about just Wyndham properties. And I was a little inspired because when Elizabeth, you'll remember her, she's the senior travel editor over at US News and World Report. She was on the podcast and she got to talking a little bit about Wyndham and their award structure and how interesting it was. And it got my wheels turning. And then I just spent some time looking at coastal places with the Wyndham points. I knew I had CapitalOne miles, and I also considered even opening a Wyndham card for this specific redemption. Ultimately, I didn't have to because shout out to my brother, he wanted a venture referral, and that got me the last little boost of points I needed to book this trip. So thank you, Joel. Anyways, when I found this place, I was like, how could this possibly be 15,000 points a night? How? This doesn't make sense.
It makes me almost a little nervous.
I was nervous. I was nervous, but I thought taking my kid, best possible scenario, she's never been to an all-inclusive. She doesn't know if the food is subpar.
The bar is low.
Yeah, the bar is so gosh darn low. It's all the way in the floor. So anyways, we'll talk more about it, what it is, where it is. But that's a little bit of the behind the scenes. I knew I wanted to take her somewhere for her birthday, so I gifted this to her back in December. We lined it up with President's Day weekend, although didn't end up really falling on the weekend because I picked the cheaper flights Sunday to Wednesday. More to that story as well. You'll just have to find out as you keep listening. It was a crazy experience.
And guys, everybody keep this in mind. Wyndham is really coming on the scene strong. They are now a transfer partner of Chase Ultimate Rewards. So you have multiple opportunities, many ways to get points over to Wyndham, not just CapitalOne. You've got a lot of options. And so this is, especially with all of the changes that are happening right now with World of Hyatt, we're looking for opportunities. We're looking for other hotels to step up and become our next go-tos. So, we're all a little interested in Wyndham right now. So this is perfect timing for you to tell us about this resort. Tell us first off the name of the resort.
Yes, it is the I might be butchering pronunciation, Grand Decameron Los Cabos. And it is literally right on the beach, and it is smack dab next to the Hyatt Ziva. They basically share a wall, and they definitely share a beach, and that's crazy because when I was there, points were looking like 45,000 points a night. Now, would the food have been better? I'm sure it would have. And would the service have been better? Yes. Amenities? Yes. But we're going to dig into this, guys. If you're not like a super bougie, I need the fanciest of everything person, you will like this resort.
Yeah, we are not necessarily we have our bougie moments, but we're
Oh,
not
yeah.
bougie travelers over here. We're budget-friendly travelers, and going to an all-inclusive for 15,000 points of night, I'm willing to forgive a few things, especially if
Yes.
I'm sharing the exact same beach with the expensive place next door.
Yes.
So let's talk about how you get there. Okay, you flew Southwest. Give
Mm-hmm.
us all the goods. Southwest has had a ton of changes recently, and this was
Mm-hmm.
your first time experiencing that in person. How was the process? What was it like? Give us all the details.
Yes. So, first of all, for my beginners, we love Southwest because Chase transfers to Southwest, and a lot of us have what's called the companion pass. We'll teach you more about that as time goes on. I have a companion pass, which means my daughter or whoever I choose flies free with me every single time I fly, even if I book in points. And domestically, Southwest is amazing because one leg will be $5.60 in taxes and fees. Internationally, it is not the same. I see people being shocked by this all the time when they find out. It was about $180 per person round trip. It was like 110 one way and like 70 or 74 the other way. So it was a little higher, but still, we are going far. Like St. Louis all the way to Cabo. That's like way down over there under California. It's quite a distance. It was not direct. But I don't remember what I bought our way there for, but because Southwest has this button in their app where you can change your flight, which basically means rebook it at a new price, I did that over and over and over, and our flight there ended up being 8,000 points. The one home that I ended up choosing after the story I'll tell later was 20. So this was still 28,000 points round trip for two people.
Insane.
Yeah. It was amazing, but this was my first time with the new seat situation, so I just want to go into that like a tiny little bit.
Yeah, tell us what that's about, because I have not yet flown Southwest since it's changed.
Man, and it has been a little bit rough for everybody. It is a weird system. First of all, I am a Premier Business card holder, which means that I can select a seat at 48 hours instead of 24, which is kind of the general time everybody else gets to choose a seat. And I hoped that would mean there was tons of availability because I hoped that most people weren't buying the expensive fare, a step up from basic, or I hoped that people, were not paying for seats because they're charging. I saw it between $40 and $80 to pick a seat. And I think that's literally insane. I absolutely refuse to do this. So with this particular card, which I do think that I will hold on to as long as I'm regularly flying Southwest, I was able to log in at the 48-hour mark, and I did not struggle to find two seats together. The planes were very full. If you were trying to look for more than two seats together, I would start to feel a little anxious. So if you have a family, I don't know, maybe you're going to want to book choice or, whatever the higher levels are with a little more points and give yourself that seat choice availability right when you book. I am like so against that. I want the cheapest points possible. I don't want to pay for seat. I am really mad at Southwest for these changes. So one thing to note is that unlike when you used to check in for your flight 24 hours out and get your boarding group for not only your first flight, but also for your connection if you had one, like, oh, you're 34A here and you're 26B here. It would just automatically generate for both of your flights. It is not like that for logging in to pick your seats. It's 48 hours out from both flights, which I did not initially realize. And so I actually panicked thinking there were no seats, and I bought seats on my second flight because I was too worried about my kid sitting apart from me. She's a little bit anxious. I did not think that would go over well. I was able to call and get that refunded when I realized what had happened, but the lady was very explicit. Seats are not refundable. This is a one-time thing. This will never happen again. So now I know if you've got a 9 a.m. flight and a 12:24 connection flight, you have to log in 48 hours from your 9 a.m. flight and then 48 hours again from your connecting flight to pick your seats. It's really freaking annoying.
Yeah, there've definitely been some hiccups, guys. I actually, at the time of this recording, just got an email from Southwest this
I saw it.
morning saying, "Hey, we realize there's some issues with the boarding groups, there's some issues with the overhead bin space,
Yes.
and they are making some changes. They're taking, all the feedback they've gotten since the rollout into consideration, making some changes." It says in this email that by the end of the year, 70% of their fleet will have larger overhead bins to make more space available. It also says those extra legroom seats are going to have designated bins for them. I don't know if they're
Yeah.
going to really police that and make sure people don't put stuff in there. So I will say that with the rollout, we're going to have a full Southwest episode soon. We have somebody we're lining up to come on the podcast to really go into what things are looking at, the current state of Southwest. So
Mhm.
that'll be coming soon. But we are glad to hear from your firsthand experience and good to know these things. Keep in mind, everybody, things change quickly in the
Mhm.
points and miles world. And thankfully, some airlines and hotels are actually taking what we're saying into account, at least a little bit, trying to roll back some things that they screw up. So hopefully Southwest will get all the kinks ironed out. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to the airport experience in Cabo, because the last time you went to Mexico, you went to Cancun. You had just a nightmare experience, PTSD from all that
Yes.
happened at the Cancun airport. But from what I understand chatting with you, Cabo was a whole different ballgame.
Night and day difference. And I wish that I had known this. I didn't believe the research that I did because I believed it in Cancun and it was the opposite of what I'd read. So I panic booked a very expensive private round trip shuttle. I had had a lot of voices in my head from various people expressing a lot of concern that I was going to Mexico alone with my child, just two women, like a lot of fear. And, I was being told, like, make sure you know how you're getting to the hotel ahead of time. Don't leave the resort. Like, don't. And so I was like, well, okay, I don't want to do a shared shuttle of any kind because I don't want people to know where we're staying. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather just have a private car that takes us straight there. And I want one that's really highly rated because what if they're a transportation service, but they're not really a transportation service and they're going to traffic us? Like,
Right.
I'm not really that kind of person. I am pretty, like, I'm almost delusionally optimistic about my safety. And so the fact that I was this worked up is funny to me, especially once I had the experience there. But I did it. I looked on Viator and I found a really highly rated private transport. I mean, it was bougie. It was like a fancy white SUV with like black leather interior. It was nice. And it was $180 round trip. That is insane. That is not something that I would ever usually spend. And I found out afterwards that if I had booked it directly through their website, it would have been more like $150, but I was just scrambling to book on a higher Viator 15X points through Rakuten day, so I didn't do my due diligence there. So mistakes all around. The airport itself, so calm, so chill. Even when you go outside looking for your shuttle among the gazillions of other shuttles and people waiting for their shuttles, nobody's approaching you. Nobody's forcing themselves on you. Nobody's trying to get you to pick their shuttle. There is just no chaos whatsoever. It was so peaceful. And I was like, wow, this was not what I expected. This is really nice. I totally, at this point, would have been completely fine to do a shared shuttle, one of those major companies, Amstar, Happy Shuttle, whatever. We could have done this far cheaper, and I will next time. But I was a little panicked.
Yeah, I think it's understandable. There's a lot. I am a very chill person too, but there is a lot of news that has come out over the past, several months, not even just Mexico related, trafficking. There's just a lot of things in the world,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. I'm not somebody who loves watching the crime shows. I know everybody loves watching all the crime shows. I'm like, I don't
Nope.
want that stuff in my
Mm-mm.
head. Lately, I think I've had a little bit too much of the real world news get in my head.
Uh-huh.
And so, I mean, yes, did you pay too much? probably, but you were traveling with your daughter. You did what you thought was safe for you guys, and it was, and it got you where you needed to go safely. So we will just take that as a win and move along. Let's talk about the resort. So as we both mentioned, this is a budget-friendly resort. And before you went, we were both kind of like, oh gosh, is this
Are we
going to
gonna get food
be
poisoning?
sketchy? Are you going to have food poisoning? Give us your first impressions as you walked, as you checked in, saw your room, walked around the property. Was it better than you were expecting, worse than you were expecting? I know overall you had a good experience, I know that it was a good experience, but still tell us, what did you think when you first got there?
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to mention this is on the quiet side of Cabo. We have done an episode previously with our friend Abby from Wayfair & Co., and we talked about their stay in Cabo, I think at the Waldorf Astoria in Cabo, which is a very different experience. But there is a party side of Cabo, which is kind of what people think of. And then there is this part about 30 to 45 minutes away called San Jose del Cabo. It's very quiet, lots of retirees, tons of people walking around, not a big nightlife place, and it was perfect. When I walked in to the Grand Decameron Los Cabos, I was thrilled. This was like a gorgeous, well-appointed lobby with a big open window out to the ocean on the far side. It looked really nice. I kind of wondered if we were going to be walking into something that looked like a budget hotel. And it did not feel like that. It looked like, okay, it wasn't as fancy as the Hyatt Vivid Grand Island for sure, but it was very, very nice. And they greeted us, they took our bags, it was just, the service was fantastic. And after that, when we got to our room, I was like, this is so much nicer than I expected. It was very, very comfortable. It had a balcony. It was overlooking the pools, and you could see out to the ocean. I would have to say the bathroom is probably the drawback. It is dated. The whole thing's dated. It has like orange tile floors, or like that brownish, that you kind of see that in Mexican architecture. But I don't care about dated as long as it's comfortable and everything works.
Right. If it's clean, I have a pretty low bar. I want to not get food poisoning, and I don't want bed bugs. And that's about all I care about.
Yeah, and it felt very clean, very comfortable. It had a rain shower, which I liked, but I don't like it when there's only a rain shower and no spray water head. Okay, because I don't want my hair to always get wet, and that's a very difficult position to be in, where you have to.
Joanna is one of those gifted people, guys, who does not have to wash her hair very often. I, on the other hand, have to wash my hair at least like every other day, or it gets disgusting. But you beautiful, thick-haired angels that only have to wash your hair like once a week. Good for you.
It's so thick. If I washed it anymore, it would literally crisp up and fall off of my head. So I do understand that this is a gift, but also when I actually have to wash it, it's like a 2-hour process. So just saying, grass is not always greener. Yeah, but very, very comfortable. We got a double queen room. It was just a standard room. I did not partner with the hotel in any way. I just booked it and we showed up. And so this is the standard room that everyone would get. And it was absolutely lovely. I do have to say I did not come across any TV channels in English, although I had read that there were. But it's, at the end of the day, we're not really watching TV. If we are watching something like in the evenings, it's on our devices anyways.
Yeah, that's what Netflix
the Wi-Fi
is for.
was excellent. It worked really well. So anyways, all in all, gorgeous. I immediately, of course, took myself on a tour. The hallways are very winding, and it takes a little bit to get yourself oriented, which I kind of like. It's kind of fun. It feels really kind of like magical and romantic, and they're all like open air hallways. It's not enclosed, so they're all like open to the outside, and then you go into your room. And I went down to the pools, and then from the pools you can just walk literally straight onto the beach. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you, like, I could not believe it. My bar was so insanely low, and it was just blown out of the water.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like for 15,000 points a night, it 100% passed the test. This was a good idea. Now, I know the very next thing you checked out, though, which made you nervous for a hot second, was the initial food buffet. And you were like, is this going to be sufficient?
I did text you because I went on my own. Juliet wasn't really hungry. She wanted to lay down and take a nap, as you know, a child does after getting up at 3 a.m. and then traveling pretty much the whole day. When I first saw the food, first of all, it was well into the service, and it was clear that people had been coming on through steadily and kind of making a mess. And it was not like the aesthetics of it just first got set out, and it looks really nice. And I was a little concerned. First of all, I don't know what the theme was that night, but there was a lot of dishes that I did not recognize, and I will try anything, but my kid will not. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm seeing why it's priced the way it is. It's a little messy and it's not super aesthetic, but I still loaded up my plate. I had this really good, it was called a beef stew, but it was like thick, and I don't know how to explain it, but it was mostly just chunks of meat. They were very, very good. I got some really good tacos. The chips and salsa is to die for. Like, I could have just eaten chips and salsa this entire weekend happily. I got a massive plate of chips and salsa at every single meal. It was amazing. And then there is lots of nice fresh fruit. There's a salad buffet. There are options, but when I first saw it, I was like, this doesn't have the appeal that I'm used to from a lot of the buffets that I've gone to. So I was worried.
The aesthetic wasn't there.
It wasn't, but I have to say, when I went back for every other meal after that, I was coming much closer to the beginning. Everything looked much better. It looked really nice. It kept clean. I don't know if someone was like not working that particular meal service, but it never looked like that again. And the food looked much better the rest of the time. And I never got sick. I ate everything. It all tasted good. So I'm not sure that it's a very easy place to eat for people who are really picky. I think you are going to be eating a lot of chips, fruit salad. They did have some plain pasta for kids. I also saw a note that you could ask for a kids menu at the buffet, but I saw that close to the end, so I never got to do that. My understanding is you may be able to get some more kid-friendly options at the buffet restaurant, because that's where you eat basically all of your meals. I think what sets this apart from the fancier places is there's not 7 places to eat. There's not much of a rotation. It is a buffet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner that's open for many hours, and the dinner rotates through types of food: Mexican, Italian, American, that kind of stuff. And then there's one other place to eat, which is like their snack spot, although it is also a restaurant, but it's down on the beach, and they have a limited snack menu during the day that you can order from. And this is things like burgers, crispy taquitos, which, by the way, were absolutely delicious. They were potato tacos, and I was like, I don't know about this. And it was a crispy rolled taquito with some kind of potato-y filling, and it was actually so delicious and came with really good sauces. So anyways, get that if you go there. You can feed yourself and survive if you are picky. You will have more fun if you're willing to try some of these more authentic dishes that they have that are not as familiar to Americans.
We will be right back to today's episode, everybody. But as you know, Wonderland on Points is presented by Yahoo Travel. If you're budget friendly, care about points and miles, or just want to help your family travel more for less, we built something for you. The Why Wonder newsletter, written twice a week by Joanna and myself, gives you the ground rules, tips, and tricks on earning and using points and miles.
You'll also get travel news, great articles that we're loving, and the latest developments from Yahoo Travel that listeners of this podcast would absolutely love. It's informative and it's helpful and fun. It's everything you love about us right here at Wonderland on Points, but we're sending it straight to your inbox. So you can sign up for the Why Wonder newsletter at travel.yahoo.com or at the link in our show notes. And now back to the episode.
And guys, it is worth noting that while the point of the all-inclusive is hopefully not to spend extra money on food, Joanna, you did abandon your plan, which was to not leave the resort, and you wandered by foot over to a huge, lovely grocery store that seemed to have everything that you could have possibly wanted.
Everything. Yeah, I basically became a local. I was literally walking out in the town 3 times a day by the time we left, and I was going to the grocery store for literally nothing. This area is like a lovely neighborhood. It feels cozy, it feels familiar. Everybody is really polite, and this grocery store is in a plaza. It probably takes 5 minutes to walk there. Now, the first day I made a mistake and I followed my GPS, which took me down the street to the right and up and around to the front of the store. But it turns out that if you just cross the street and go up a big flight of stairs, it takes you to the back, which is where most people access it from. You go up this like moving walkway into the center of this plaza, and it's got Subway and McDonald's and Starbucks and La Comer, which is the store that I'm talking about, which is not really a grocery store. It's more like a Walmart or a Target. It's massive and has literally everything you could ever in your entire trip need. And not to be missed is their bakery.
Yeah, it sounds like the hotel is situated just 10 out of 10. The location is perfect. You have comfort places, McDonald's, Starbucks, grocery store, but you also have the same beach that the Hyatt has. You're right on the water. You have pools. I mean, this sounds ideal.
It really is. And there's still something special about it. It doesn't feel like going to a Starbucks and a McDonald's and a grocery store in the States. It still has this like beachy town vibe where you do feel like you're on a trip experiencing something different. And I love that about it. I don't want to go somewhere that feels like home. And of course, home does not have a beach. So ultimately, this would never feel like home. But there was also a fantastic playground, just like a 2-minute walk away. And I know how my friends with small children love a great playground.
Now, speaking of kids and families, because you were sending me pictures of the playground, looks fantastic. With this being a more affordable, all-inclusive, it does seem like something that I would consider maybe taking my family to, because I can't afford to take us to the fancy ones, even on points, especially with the devaluations happening with Hyatt. I mean, I can, but I'd have to play the long game and be strategic, and it would be a whole thing. This sounds like something, oh yeah, we could do this. We could do this pretty easily. But when you book on points, that 15,000 points per night, was that just for 2 people, like you and Juliet, it worked, but if I tried to bring all my kids, would that cover 4 people in the room? Or would I need to get just 2, or because I have a family of 5, would I be forced to pay cash for some, get 3 rooms? What's that situation for families?
Okay, so when you put 2 adults and 2 kids into the search, this room still comes up for 15,000 points a night. So I don't actually have any proof that says that you can book it, but when you put it in the system and it still comes up, it kind of feels like it's an option. And I feel like they seem so laid back. I feel like if you had a 5th, you might be able to add them on for cash. And it obviously depends on when you stay. We were there in super duper off season, so the rates were under $200 cash a night for this place, which is bananas. So I would think adding a small child on per night would not be that expensive, even if you wanted to. Now, rates get much higher in kind of the peak. You're looking at closer to $400 a night for some dates, but I honestly think you could take a family of 4 here for 15,000 a night and all your food is covered.
Well, guys, that's worth looking into. That is certainly worth looking into. Okay, let's get back to the property itself. Talk to us about the pool scene. You mentioned a walkable beach that shares with the Hyatt. Tell us about the pool setup, the chairs on the beach. Are people jockeying for position? Is it super crowded? Did you need to reserve chairs? What is all that situation?
Okay, so obviously I have no peak season experience. I'm just going to put out my personal opinion. This was the absolute best time of year that you could ever possibly go. The weather was stunning. The high never got above the low 80s, but the sun is brutal. and makes you feel like it's 100 degrees, but the wind is lovely. And the combination of the two is like the perfect temperature. I actually can't imagine going with it being any hotter. We still wanted to swim. We still got in the water. It was fantastic. So, because it was off season and the holiday ended while we were there, it was fairly crowded on Monday, President's Day. Tuesday and Wednesday, there were
Ghost town.
just a handful of people. I loved it. It was amazing. There were still people. It just was not crazy at all. So I did notice people were coming out in the mornings and putting towels and water bottles on chairs. But there were still plenty of chairs to choose from by the time we were ready to. So they didn't get all filled up. I do wonder if they would in peak season. There are two main pools in the main ground floor area. They're both very big, both fun, both kid friendly. One of them does have a swim up bar attached to it. So that one obviously has more, the adults like that. But Juliet was digging getting virgin Mai Tais as much as she wanted. So that's kind of the fun of all inclusive is it's like you just go for it and you can have whatever you want, buddy. If you go up this really cool winding set of stairs, it takes you to this tower almost that is open that has a small adults only pool, and it's more like an infinity pool, and it has a bunch of chairs up there to lay as well, and it overlooks the beach. It's really nice. It is small. It has its own bar, but again, no kids up there. So if you want to kind of separate yourself from the kiddos, there is an option for that. And there is actually a spa. Never looked into anything what the spa would cost. I have no idea. But connected to the spa is also a really nice workout facility that you can use. There were kids there the whole time, and I loved it. I love hearing the sound of kids like happy playing in the pool. It made me very happy. There were also chairs on the beach, but they are back close to the property. You do walk down to the water. There are not chairs all the way down by the water.
It
And
seemed
there
like
are
a
not
very wide, large
It
beach from your
is.
videos.
It is. It's a massive, massive beach. And so it is like a little bit of a walk just to get down to the water. And there are not many chairs actually on the beach. I would say 20 chairs on the beach. I never had a problem getting those because people seem to prefer to lay by the pool. If they were going down to the beach, most of them were just grabbing a towel and like heading down, sitting by the water.
Okay, now there was one drawback to the ocean. Not that big of a drawback for me, but a drawback for most people. Go ahead, lay it on us.
You cannot swim anywhere in this part of Cabo. Doesn't matter if you're at the Hyatt Ziva or if you're at the Grand Decameron Los Cabos. This area is known for having extremely dangerous currents. So they always have the flag up. Nobody's supposed to go in the water. Do people? Yes, they do. I saw quite a few people go in. Am I going to mess with that? No, I'm not. Also, there are sometimes is known to be jellyfish in the area, so you want to be careful of that as well. But you can put your feet in. You can. I like experiencing a beach much more than I like just fully diving into the ocean. So this was not a problem for me either. But there are options not far away that we can talk about later where you can go swimming in the ocean. It's just this stretch for whatever reason that has pretty gnarly riptides.
Yeah, I definitely do not mess with currents. I respect the ocean quite a bit, and so I don't think I would want my family getting in there for sure. But you did do a whole lot of excursions on this trip, and it was
Yes.
interesting because you are a very budget traveler. And so a lot of times I feel like the excursions would not be your thing, right? You would want to just stay at the resort. But the flights were ridiculously cheap. Even the points price was ridiculous. The hotel itself was so cheap that in this situation, you did have some budget to book excursions. So tell us, did you book them ahead of time or did you book them at the hotel? What do you recommend for people?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. First of all, when I'm spending $0 on the food, the accommodations, and very little on the flights, the way I look at it, like I probably got about $500 to play with. This is a birthday trip. I had been saving. I had an idea allocated in my head for this, and Normally, we don't do a bunch of fancy, expensive excursions, but especially without having food costs, that really helps me be able to say yes to some of this stuff. So, one of our activities I booked ahead of time on Viator, and the other activity I did book through the hotel. So, I'll talk about the hotel first because we have a friend now. His name is Martine Arnold, and you can find him on this property on the same level as the buffet. He's kind of tucked over to the left around the corner, and he is always there at this table full of activities that you can book. You want to ride a camel, you want to rent an ATV, you want to go on a cruise, anything that you want to do, Martine can make it happen. Now, as with every hotel universally, I feel like it's always going to be more expensive to do that generally, but I actually found trying to do this last minute that he was able to find a better deal than I was able to find for us online. Juliet decided while we were there that she would like to go snorkeling. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I don't know how the ocean is going to feel. It's not that warm. You know, the pools are kind of heated. The ocean is not heated. It's just fine. But she wanted to do it. And so I decided we would go ask what they had available. And I told him my max was $100 per person because at first he was trying to show us some stuff that was $150 and $175. It was these fancy catamarans. And I was like, look, this is my budget. And he's like, okay, this cruise technically is like $130 a person. I'm going to call my boss and see if we can give you a discount code. I'm sure they do this a lot. I'm sure that if you go in there with a negotiation spirit, you could probably also make this happen for your excursions. They want to sell excursions, and especially last minute, they're just trying to get whatever money they can. So we ended up booking a snorkel cruise, and this included the 45-minute round trip transportation. Like if I had to Uber all the way to the marina, that itself would have cost us a ton of money.
Yeah.
So they pick you up at your hotel, they drop you off at your hotel, they drive you down to the marina, and then you get a 3+, it ended up being a little more than 3 hours, cruise on this boat that takes you out past the arch, which my therapist pointed out to me looks like a dragon drinking out of the water. Not a single person said that to me. She's like, did you see the dragon drinking out of the water? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And she's like, that's what Cabo's famous for, the dragon drinking out of the water. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, the rocks. And I was like, I saw the arch that everybody talks about. And she's like, yeah, it's the dragon drinking out of the water. Apparently this is a thing that people call this. And I opened my pictures and zoomed in and I was like, what the heck? It does.
I need to look it up now. I've never thought that. I know the arch that you're talking about, but I've never seen the dragon.
When you see it, you will never unsee it. It's actually very cool and I love it. Okay, so the cruise takes you out past that. You get to see all that. You get your nice, photo moment. You also have unlimited drinks and lunches included. They take you out to this great snorkeling spot where they give you all the gear and a guide, and you decide if you're brave and want to go far out from the boat with that group, or if you're scared and want to stay close to the boat. We went far out. It was so scary. I'm a little scared of open ocean, but I did it. And it was cool. I got to hold a sea urchin. I would say it's not the Caribbean. Okay. The water is not completely crystal clear turquoise. It's a little murky. I could see the coral. I could see some fish, but they're not these vibrant, bright fish that you see in like the Bahamas. It's a different kind of snorkeling. It was cool.
It was interesting to me that and we're going to talk about this later, maybe even a second episode, but your last day, you went to another beach where you could walk out into the water and you had all kinds of fish swimming up to. And the videos of that looked like some very colorful, pretty fish.
Yeah, this was closer to shore. Weirdly enough, where we went later was very different. Way more fish, way more colors. Now, what I saw a ton of out in the ocean was dories. I saw lots of dory fish, which I loved. So that was amazing. We were out in the water for probably 30 minutes, and that was good enough for me. I was perfectly happy to get back in and eat lunch. The boat was super fun. This was by Cabo Escapes, you guys, and I can put the link in the show notes. You can book this yourself. And I thought for $100 a person, for the amount of time, for the transportation, for the food, for the drinks, alcoholic drinks included, guys, and then just kind of for the vibes of, the guy leading it was a lot of fun, making lots of jokes, doing, talking, there was music. And then it doubled as a whale watching excursion.
Oh, yes. Now, this about sent Joanna over the edge. I hope you were wearing a life jacket because this about just took her out. It was so exciting.
We saw so many whales, but there was a particular pair that was so close to the boat, and this guy did his little arch back out, and then his little tail came, not little, it was massive. They were humpback whales. His tail came out at the end, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I am in this stunning place. We paid barely anything for it. We are out. We get to snorkel. We're also seeing whales. They're also feeding us. We also get to see the major landscapes of Cabo. Like, it was just incredible. I was just shaken with gratitude.
You got a steal of a deal on that activity. So if anybody does this trip, negotiate at that activity desk. Tell them your budget's $100 because you really came out with a steal on that one.
If it's Martine, tell him I sent you because I told him, I said, we're talking about you on the podcast, sir. We will be mentioning you. He was fantastic and he knows everything about the Cabo area. So I was able to ask him just a lot of questions and he actually put me very at ease about, walking, Ubering, telling us, to go check out the downtown area, all of this kind of stuff. So very helpful, excellent, helpful gentleman.
Good. Well, the excursion that you booked ahead of time was a horseback riding adventure because that is you and Juliet's thing. She loves horseback riding. You try to do that every place that you go. You did it in San Diego with her last year in January. This year, it's Cabo, and it was a good bit cheaper, actually, I feel like, than when you went in San Diego.
By a mile. And it's so different because you get to do so much more. American horseback rides are very buttoned up. They are terrified that you're going to sue them. In Mexico, they're like, helmets, what are those? You want to gallop? Do you know how? Oh, you do? Sure, we'll take your word for it. Just go for it. This also was included round trip transportation. It was $64 a person. I booked it through Vidar ahead of time. I did try to find this company, and their website made it look way more expensive than what we paid. So I'm not sure what glitch in the matrix happened, but I'm going to also try to find the Viator link for the show notes so you can book this. And so we got picked up at our hotel, and it was us and then one other couple that got picked up on the way that was doing it with us. And the man that picked us up, Alejandro, who I am lovingly referring to as the Cabo concierge. I think he should rebrand and call himself that. He is incredible. He, first of all, does everything in the world. So if you feel like you want a private driver / guide to hire and show you the best of Cabo, call Alejandro. I have his contact information, also putting that in the show notes. He will take like birthday parties or bachelorette parties and literally be essentially a bodyguard tour guide so they, the girls are all staying safe. You're with a local who's kind of watching out for you, keeping a head count. He does literally anything that anybody needs. And I think he's awesome.
I love that.
And he's just an incredible person. He's a very, very hard worker. He used to work in hospitality at hotels and then realized he had such a knack for always being able to help the customers at the hotel get everything that they needed that he was like, well, why would I let there be a middleman? I'll just go out on my own and I'll do everything for anybody. So now he has a bunch of tourists that have his WhatsApp contact. When they know they're coming to Cabo, they're like, hey, can you book this activity for me? We have this many people coming. We're trying to do this for this amount of money. Can you make it happen? And because he has connections and knows the area and all of that, he can get reservations at places you could never get reservations. He can just make stuff happen. And, if you're paying $0 for flights and hotels, essentially, you might want to throw some money Alejandro's way and make it a really easy, smooth, fun trip. I don't know. I thought he was awesome.
That's so funny. I love having a known person that it's like, here's his WhatsApp number. I thought he was awesome. I have that for South Africa. Our driver we've used 2 years in a row. I have his WhatsApp
Yes.
number. If ever I knew someone going there, I'd be like, hey, this is your
Yes.
guy. Contact
Yes.
him.
That's
Okay,
exactly how I
let's
feel.
talk about on this horseback riding trip. You were riding along the beach. It looked beautiful. You sent me videos. And then you were like, I am so taken with this place. I am loving Cabo so much. We are supposed to go home, but we're
Tomorrow.
not going to. You decided literally on horseback that you were going to book an extra night, not at your same hotel. Now you did book it somewhere else, a little cheaper, even cheaper, if you can believe it. But you decided we're not leaving. Well, you checked the flights. One of the beautiful thing, points and miles, Southwest. You canceled one flight. You switched to a different one. You booked a night at a Hyatt place, and boom, you're extending this trip.
Guys, I've never in my life done this. And do you know how amazing it felt? I love like spontaneous adventure. I rarely have the ability to do spontaneous adventure. And I struggled with this choice a little bit because we were supposed to get home on a Wednesday night. My kid was supposed to go to school Thursday and Friday. There's just this thing about her being in 8th grade where I'm like, she'll be okay. Next year, we can't be skipping days of school because once you hit 9th grade, those grades all matter towards your future, which I find highly annoying. And so there was just something in me that's like, this is better for her than sitting in a classroom all day. So I was like, you know what? We're doing this. I'm obsessed with this place. This was not enough days. I would have stayed here a lot longer. This gives me the opportunity to check out the Hyatt place and report back to you guys as well. It was 6,500 points. It's literally a 3-minute walk or 5-minute walk or whatever from our current hotel. And you know what? I looked at the flights, and the funny thing was I didn't click the change button. I just looked in the app at the next day's flights, and there was a flight for 20,000 points. Originally, my flight home on Wednesday had been a little bit more expensive than that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. We're just gonna do it. When I went into the change button to try to change to the next day, it showed me a more expensive price for the exact same flight. So I did not do that. I went and booked a separate flight home for the next day and then went in and canceled. It was tricky. I was like, you know what? This really teaches me a lesson about this change button, though, because I'm always now going to compare just an individual search to what I'm seeing in the change button.
Okay, guys, we're taking a quick pause to tell you about one of our favorite things on the planet. If you have been following this podcast for long, you know that we are kind of obsessed with our comfort clothing. It started with one of the travel essentials hoodies. It morphed into the airplane mode, the blankets, the pajamas, and now both Joanna and I think we have just about one of everything comfort makes. At least that's our goal.
It's a little unhinged. I mean, my daughter, the things that she wears on a weekly basis are almost entirely comfort. I mean, if they start making like regular everyday fitted t-shirts, that's it. That's all we're missing. And guys, I did just place an order for the brand new VIP airplane mode hoodie with the silk lining. Okay, first of all, my girls with thick curly hair know that a silk lining is literally everything when it comes to hair protection. So I'm very, very excited to try it. Also, I don't know if anyone peeped this, but they have athletic wear now, including yoga pants, which are all sold out in my size and the color I wanted. But you better believe I will be getting some and letting you know how we like them.
Yeah, if you guys have been paying attention, comfort items sell out quickly. So be sure to use the link in our show notes that gives us a small commission. Check out what they have and keep checking back because things do come in stock, back in stock. They do restocks. They have new items coming out all the time. So be checking regularly, and we so appreciate you choosing to shop through our link.
Our link also gives you 15% off of everything you buy, even sale prices. So head over there, get some stuff for yourself, get some stuff for your loved ones. You absolutely will not regret it. And now back to the episode. But yeah, I mean, I booked that just moments before we reached the beach, I was like, Juliet, guess what? We're staying another day. She celebrated. And then they let us gallop together down the beach, which was the most incredible thing because the last time that I got to gallop on horseback was when I was pregnant with her, also on a Mexico beach in Puerto Vallarta. And it felt really emotional and full circle to be doing that like side by side with
Yes.
my daughter.
Oh, that's so special. And missing school, that's a hard decision, but this was such a great trip for your relationship as mom and
Yeah.
daughter to have that experience together, spend this time together when you're both just having fun and kind of leaving the world behind, joyful. These are really important moments. So I'm glad that you guys had that. And this is so fun, your tradition of going horseback riding everywhere. I know this is the kind of thing that she is going to remember when she's older. She's going to talk about how her and mom went horseback riding places. And I just think that's so cool. I'm so thrilled that you guys found a good way to do that. A great company, enjoyed it, got to gallop together. Beautiful all around.
Oh, it was amazing. Very thrilling. And galloping was much more scary as an older person than it was, 14
Yeah.
years ago. My kid, because she's taken lessons, man, she looked so professional. And I was like, I feel my saddle slipping slightly to the left. This makes me nervous. But
I
I
gotta
did it.
say, me and you, we are going pretty soon to the American Southwest. We're going to go explore a Hyatt near Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're pretty excited about it, but they have horseback riding, and it has been a hot minute. It seems like, oh yeah, I've been horseback riding a bunch of times, but when I actually think about it and count up the years it has been since I've been horseback riding, I gotta say, I'm a little nervous that I'm going to be sore the next day.
You will be, but it's that good kind of sore where you feel like you did a workout. So it's fine.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to it. I will not be looking as graceful as your daughter did. Let's talk about the Hyatt, because when you guys went there, you were sending me pictures too, because we were like, okay, is this a really good idea for families who just want a budget-friendly, quick getaway?
Yep.
And overall, especially with that playground that you mentioned earlier being nearby, it sounds like a really great option.
Literally incredible. You guys, if you are good with heading over to the extremely cheap grocery store, buying some fresh baked rolls or croissants, going and getting your lunch meat and your cheese and plopping it in your mini fridge, which there is tons of space for at this Hyatt place, this is the perfect location for you guys to do a budget family trip. It's perfect. 6,500 points a night. You can still access the same beach that you can access from the Grand Decameron and the Ziva. It's just a very short walk across the street. And it's not a busy street or a scary street. It's very, very easy. And there's this little walkway that goes straight to the beach. It's designated for beach access. That is its purpose. Now, the Hyatt place, the rooms were standard, but they were the nicer, more modern ones. I have stayed in some really rundown Hyatt places, and these felt very new, and it was nice. And 2 beds and a sofa. I believe the sofa was a pullout, and the room was 518. If you can get room number 518, I'm sure lots of rooms have a gorgeous view, but man, that view to the ocean, I'm like, how can I be here
Yeah.
for 6,500 points? It feels like it should be much higher category to just see something like this out my window.
And it thankfully did have the free
Yeah.
breakfast included. And I
Yes.
have eaten a lot of Hyatt Place breakfast. And this one did have the standard things, but it seemed like standard plus. It did
Yes.
seem to have a few extra things than what I've seen standard in the States.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it had some really nice additions, and it was a fantastic breakfast buffet. It was really nice, and I haven't had a free Hyatt Place breakfast in a while, but it is a step up from what I remember. Especially like the last one I think I went to was the one in Bentonville. This was 10 times what there was to offer in Bentonville, Arkansas. So, yeah, I would say if you want to go a different route, you don't want the resort route, you're planning on doing a lot of excursions and sightseeings, and you don't feel like you need resort pools and all of that, you could stretch your points really, really far with this one. I do have to say, There is a pool, but it is very underwhelming. It is small, and it is surrounded by, it's kind of in the middle, a courtyard almost. And so there's just like walls on all sides of it. You are outdoors, but I did not love it. And I
Yeah,
would
that
not have spent
definitely
any time there.
is a downfall. But you discovered, because your room wasn't quite ready yet, maybe, you ran over to a beach called, and I'm going to pronounce this incorrect, but I'll try, Chelino Beach?
Yes, Chelino Beach. And so there are two beaches within a pretty, 20 minutes or less Uber ride, which are not expensive. Chelino Beach and Palmilla Beach. And both of these beaches are swimmable. Very, very lovely. Now, I will say, bring swim shoes. I haven't been to Palmilla. I don't know what the texture is there, but at Chelino Beach, there are lots and lots and lots of broken pieces of coral everywhere, which is really fun to collect. But it's not the soft sand like is in front of our resort. It's got rocks and sand mixed together, shells and sand mixed together, and coral and sand mixed together. So I wish that we had known that. Once we were in the water, it was fine. The fish come straight up to you. It is so bizarre. It's the most bizarre experience of my life. I don't know if people have been feeding them or what, but they're all very friendly. And you can rent snorkel gear, you can rent umbrellas, you can rent chairs. I would say they're a little more costly than I would prefer. I almost think for cheaper, we could have gone to the La Comer store, bought our own umbrella, and you packed a cooler full of stuff. There's not food down there, so definitely bring food. But I almost think we could have done that cheaper ourselves than the $30 umbrella rental that we did, but it was okay. The closer I get to the end of a trip, the more I find my resolve to save money falling away from me.
And the Uber was just about $10 from the Hyatt place to get over there to those beaches, right?
Yep. Now, I do want to mention, you guys, there is an area that if you're staying in San Jose, you will experience this if you are going towards the party side of Cabo at all, Cabo San Lucas. They are doing a huge construction project. They're putting in like this big highway system, and it apparently is a 2-year project and has already been going on for 1. Getting out of that to go toward Cabo San Lucas is not a big deal because of which side the construction's being done on. Coming back, you are sitting to go just several miles for a very long time. Now, our Uber driver was particularly aggressive on the way back, and he just kept going on the shoulder and bypassing everybody. And I gave him a very nice tip when we got back. I was like, is this allowed? Are we going to get pulled over? I don't know. I don't care. He was fantastic. If you actually go all the way to Cabo San Lucas, you can ask your drivers to take the pay road, the toll road, and you can look on a map and you can see this, and it will circumvent that. It is technically the long way, but it will take less time. You will just have to offer your driver to pay the toll. And we were able to actually do this on the way back from our snorkeling tour. Me and the other American tourists who were in the car had experience with this. And so we actually said to our driver, would you be able to take the toll road? We will pay the toll for you. And he called his boss and got approval, and he took us the long way, and it saved us from sitting in an hour of traffic.
Oh, yeah. That is definitely a good tip and something that I would pay for. No one wants to sit in traffic. Okay, you had a few other things that you didn't get to. Even though you extended a night in Cabo, there were still some things on your itinerary that you would have liked to explore that you didn't quite get to. So what would you have put on, or what will you put on your next itinerary?
Yeah, so there is a downtown area of San Jose del Cabo that's very, very historic. Apparently, it has this really lovely historic church, which I believe is called the Mission San Jose del Cabo, and it's pretty famous. And in this square, especially on Thursday nights, they typically have street vendors and an art walk and just kind of all kinds of very authentic things to experience that are apparently a lot of fun. Now, we weren't there on a Thursday night, so we didn't get to see this, but we were actually planning on going down to that area and walking around and finding a restaurant to go to anyways. That was our plan, but we were so tired after spending the day at Chileno Beach and swimming that we ultimately just decided to walk to McDonald's.
That
Sad.
tracks.
But
That
we
tracks.
knew we were gonna have to Uber over there. You could walk. It's about a 30-minute walk, and it's totally doable. It's all flat. It's a nice walk, but we were just kind of dead, and we did want to try the local McDonald's.
Okay, it finally came time to leave. So thankfully in Cabo, you report a very quick security situation. It wasn't long and painful, which is great, but you ran into some hiccups on the way home in Denver.
Oh my gosh, Denver was, first of all, I do love the Denver airport. They have therapy dogs there. Like, they literally have a team of dogs that they bring out to just interact with the public. You can pet them. They are amazing. I met one named Maverick. Love him. And the airport is nice. Great place to be stuck. But our flight got delayed. Once we actually got on our flight, several hours later, we started backing away, and then it got towed back to the gate for some mechanical problems, and we sat there for a while while they fixed those. So that was annoying. I did learn something interesting when I was in the Denver airport. I actually started looking it up on our way to Denver because I had seen the delay, and I was like, wow, we're going to be waiting in the airport a long time. I know there's CapitalOne Lounge. I don't have a card that gives me access. How much is the day pass? I was looking at all these things because I was trying to do the math, and I was like, if we're going to be eating and sitting forever, is this a worthwhile expense? And maybe everybody knows this. Maybe they do. We've never talked about it on the show, and I've never personally seen anyone talk about it, so I did not know. If you just have a plain old Venture, you get a discount on the day pass. So it's actually the same cost as if you were coming in with a guest, like with a friend that had the Venture X. So like now if I go into a Venture X lounge or a CapitalOne Lounge with you, I would have to pay the $45 day pass fee instead of the $90 cost because I'm coming in with you. Well, if you're a Venture holder, you already get it at $45. And shock of all shocks to me, children through age 17 are $25 if they're coming in with you as a Venture holder. I didn't know this. Maybe everybody knows this, and I'm just completely behind on the times because I never really have ever considered a day pass or anything else. So I've never looked into it. But I was like, if we're going to be here for 3 hours, I think I will spend this money to go eat all their unlimited food, take stuff out, have a comfortable place, good Wi-Fi. Like, I was ready to do a little splurge there. Unfortunately, when we got there, I put our names on the list, and we never even made it off the list the entire time we were there.
Painful. The list of these lounges, they're painful. And it was not supposed to be like this anymore, right? Because that's one of the main reasons they took away CapitalOne Venture X. You know, they took away our guest access, which has already gone into effect, and yet the line was still so long.
It was so long. We never made it off the queue, which is really unfortunate. And then I went and bought my kid dinner from Panda Express. Do you know how much just a normal one entree, one side meal with some crab rangoon and a small side of broccoli costs? No drink, no nothing. It was literally like $24.
That is crazy. You know, when you first told me about, I was considering the day pass, I thought, gosh, I don't think I would ever do that. It seemed like there's just no value to be had there. But if Panda Express and one side costs $24, then the kid price of, $25 or how much it was going to be, doesn't sound so crazy. However, the waiting in line, that is tough. Me and you waited forever. We tried to go in one of the Priority Pass lounges in Amsterdam, waited, eventually gave up and got McDonald's. So it is tough. The lounge overcrowding stuff. I was really sad as somebody who takes my family into lounges that I lost a lot of guest access, but I'm even more frustrated to hear that it didn't solve the problem.
Yeah. Well, imagine if I had the Venture X, put myself on a list and still couldn't get. I would be mad if I was paying that annual fee and I was stuck in an airport for hours and hours and still never could get access and still had to go pay for my dinner somewhere. I would be mad. At least I wasn't going to have to pay until I reached the front of the line. And then I could decide whether or not I actually wanted to spend the money. And obviously, as our wait time dwindled, I was like, well, we're not going to be spending this if we only have 1 or 2 hours. It's not worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I wish that they have a lot of the Capital One lounges, which I do love, have takeaway areas. I just wish that they would allow people who are waiting to access the takeaway area if they want. Like, have a question. Do you want to come in? Do you want to be on the line to come in and sit down and rest and spend time in here? Or are you happy just grabbing and going? Because they
That's
will
a
not.
good
When you are on the
idea.
wait list, they won't let, even if you're like, hey, I just want to grab that over there from the takeaway section, they won't let you do it. You're on the wait list. So I really wish that there was kind of 2 options so that people in a hurry who don't want to come linger in there can grab stuff and go. Okay,
Yeah.
conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up here. What are your biggest takeaways from this 15,000 point all-inclusive? Tell us, what should we know? Should we book it? Should we book it right now?
100% book it right now. Look, what we've learned from Hyatt is things are always a changing. It is hard for me to imagine that this will always stay at this rate. The way that the Wyndham bookings go is that they seem to go from 7,500 to 15,000 to 30,000. I feel like if this continues being popular and they do updates or anything like that, I feel like it's going to go up to a 30,000 property. They have lots of all-inclusives that are 30,000. I think this is a sweet hidden gem of a property, especially if you can get a family of 4 in there. Somebody please test this and let me know. And look, you don't have to do all the excursions like I did. You could just spend your days walking the beach, playing at the playground, playing in the pools. You could spend all day in these pools. They're very nice.
Okay. Well, that's it, guys. The review is positive. 15,000 points, a hidden gem that we have uncovered. Joanna tested it out and gives a stamp of approval. So if you are ready to go to Mexico, check out Wyndham Points, guys, and be on notice, Hyatt, because other programs are coming for you now. We're looking into them. I'm going on a choice vacation this summer in Norway. We've booked Wyndham properties. We're finding other options. And so thanks for sharing about it today. I know everybody was super excited to hear about this trip. Guys, do join us in our Facebook group. Send us some DMs if you have questions. We love seeing you on Instagram as well. Make sure you have signed up for the Why Wonder newsletter that we are doing with Yahoo Travel. That means a whole lot to us, and we hope to be in your inbox every Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
We'll see you here next time, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to plan your next trip.
Remember, we're travelers sharing our experiences, not financial advisors, so always do your own research and make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a Points and Miles tip.
We'll see you next time on Wonderland on Points.